walls of Paris held out against the English onslaught. England's King Edward and the Black Prince abandoned the siege. They marched towards Chartres to try their luck at conquering a less formidable target. But before they could attack, a violent storm hit the army. Killing 1,000 English soldiers in a tempest of hail and freezing winds. To Edward, this Black Monday disaster seemed like divine retribution. A sign that it was time to stop waging war and make peace with France's King Jean. But even as peace between kings was reached, the people of France were still living in bloodshed and turmoil. Between 1358 and 1370, France was in chaos. Peasant uprisings, rampaging bands of mercenaries, and civil war ravaged the country. Peasants rose in rebellion, killing their lords and wreaking havoc. Mercenary bands also roamed the land. Known as routiers, they had once been hired by the English to fight against the French, but were cut loose when peace was reached. They systematically ravaged and pillaged towns across France. And with King Jean prisoner in England, his son Charles the Dauphin faced homegrown attacks on his rule by powerful French lords, beset from all sides. The Dauphin's forces had to regain control over their own country. Having only recently been crowned King of France, Charles V dispatched his army to the French-held village of Évreux to forge order from chaos. From here, the army would move to extinguish three major threats. Bands of roving mercenaries harrying the countryside, a peasant uprising, and attacks from a rival for the French crown, Charles of Navarre. The French army would start by reclaiming the rebel-held villages of Cocherel, Jouy, and Croissy.
Colones, parade.
Escolte bene.
Parade pour venir. Coedme. Colones sunt ici. Parate.
Cursores in avant, cursores.
Attention. Civolier. Parade en les camps. Colones, paitis. Vado laborar.
Tous audite.
Mes plaies.
Retourno comme materia.
Félicite Beat. Buon labor. Mande squad. Come sono la cose? Ordine tenez.
Parade pour laborar.
Parades pour labourar. Laboranza in Limans.
As the French army struggled to regain control of the countryside, they were struck by a band of English routiers. These mercenaries had been cut loose by the English army and were plundering the countryside in order to make a living.
Les maçons sont ici! Viva Yuda!
6 hommes.
6 hommes.
The French forces eliminated the routier attack, but more were still raiding the countryside in search of provisions and riches. The routier demanded payment from the French, or they would continue their horrifying raids.
¿Qué mandes? Entendo. Presente l'enquête. Sígueme.
Ordine, pace, muove! Equitas in avant!
In taking the village of Jouy, the French army was closer to stemming the peasant rebellion and regaining control.
Labor Sperance. Cos'è sera massonata? Audite, milites. Equites in avant!
The village of Croissy, rich in gold deposits, was a crucial town for the French to reclaim.
Veillance l'ennemi!
The central monastery town of Cocherel would continue to send out rebel attack parties to weaken the French army.
Parat Corvis.
The French army defeated the rebels at Croissy and took control of the gold-rich village. The central monastery town of Cocherel was still under the control of rebel peasants. The French army would have to take it before they could launch an assault on Charles of Navarre.
Momentesi, arquière.
Parats pour labourare. Cos'è sera massonata? Montesquieu. 6 hommes. Sur moins de mans. Quoi de labour? Attention! Novo...
Mandesquet.
Parats pour labourare. Monastial pour la matéria.
L'enquier parade. Vale. Bene! L'enquier in movement. Destruit. Comprendo.
Escolte bene. Io ma sono una cosa. Cavallarios, quitamos.
Che mandes? Bene, bene.
Mandes qued? Qued mandes?
Vado laborar.
The French paid off the routier and were free of further raids.
Cito. Dolme bien. Est facile, cavalier.
Parat for venir. Vado laborar.
Parats pour laborar. Io ma sono la cose. Dolme bien. Si volies! Ah, fini cette béate. Parate equite! Equite sul paraio!
Prompte.
Mandemans, colonnes. Rate terra, bene. Sì. Equites attendentisi. Parate equite. Parate equite. En linea equite. Si comprendo. Quitamus.
The French army took control of the rebel villages, and the peasant uprising was subdued. But to keep control over the region, they would need to defend its center of influence, the monastery at Cocherel.
Besoigne à faire.
Northeast of Cocherel, Charles of Navarre's army had established a fortified camp. The King of Navarre sought to make himself ruler of France as well. He intended to press his claim by destroying the newly arrived royal forces.
Que faut-il donc besoigner? Bayets moi besoin.
Compagnon, voir à Parmeil.
Chevaucheur, il n'y faut que la nuit. Die Chevaliquets was away. Your chance, Chevaucheur, nos allons. Elect, dangerous day.
Compagnon, lancière, gardez de boss. Au passe, compagnon.
Hem besoin. Bien de place.
Que fauti donc besoigné? Baillets moi besoigne.
Compagnon, fais ça, compagnon. En attente. Dictez-moi une bersaise. Dictez-moi, ma besoin.
De vers où faut-il archer?
Oyez bien, compagnon. Nos allons.
Chacune aime sa plaie.
Mon arc est prêt. Veici, acustres-vous pour dispartir.
Dès que votre plaisir, ainsi soit.
Presse portrait.
Access nos Spartans. Bridge, comme il vous plaise.
Oh, me fa aussi comme volets.
Oi. Citos. Ayez cure au mec ton snooze à la voix bien brillamment.
Dicte-moi ma besoin.
Mais ici, laisse commandement. Allons, à parler. Mais ici, laisse commandement. À Chestnut Foss. Compagnon, mais ici, laisse commandement.
Oyez les ordonnances.
Accordé.
Pushing up the hillside, the French discovered Charles of Navarre's camp. His front line had the high ground and was made up entirely of archers. The French would have to think carefully about how to approach the stronghold.
Dictez vos commandements.
Chestnut Foss, à Chestnut Foss. Chestnut Foss, à Chestnut Foss. Envelopé, à pointe de face. À Chestnut Foss.
Archer! Faut-il donc besoin ici les exploiter? Que valait Bastille? Tous te y a Lauretz. Lorsque bâti, je sais ce que...
À Chestnut Foss. Dictez-moi.
Question de moi. Tous de ya Lauretz. Besoin d'y faire? Ça espelle, ma frère. Giovanni Bastir.
Pex, jeunesse Ligier. Si obéis à vos commandements.
Grazie. Petit commandement.
Reniez vos armées.
Soyez attentis. Chiles commandements.
Vets vos donc. En avoué.
Compagnon? Déjà compagnon. Oralband. Une autre Versailles?
Pour votre service. Droit est m'avoué.
Die Mangonels actant vos ordonnances. Or actant donc ordonnance.
Il n'est faute que la cuisse.
Mangonels à 6. Manuel à 6. Mais là-haut. Or actant donc ordonnance.
Mais ici, laisse commandement. À Chespet Vos.
Mangonels à 6. Les Mangonels actant. Anja, reste tous à l'once.
En besoin.
Bien vos ordres.
Longtemps va-t-il demeurer? À Chespet Vos. Oui, à Barmey.
Veuillez-moi besoin. Giovanni Bastir.
Reste par une sanglante.
Je prie vous obéir.
Dicte-moi.
Faites-y mon pour le beauté.
Suisse. J'attends.
Aveillez Vectorsnos sans l'avoué. Prest slupstei viame a un sanglant.
Attendis. Faites-y.
Du cheval sur qui besoin. Les commandements.
Compagnon. Chivos ordonnance.
Chevalier.
Certes.
Honor reste d'obéir.
Oh, me faut trahir. Tous de ya Lauretz.
Commandement pour les chevalchers.
Oyez les commandements.
Les chevalchers. On avance pour l'avoué.
Allons prest. Attentis. Faites-y mon demande.
Soyez prêts, compagnons. Commandement. J'attends.
Compagnon. Chivos ordonnance.
Je suis votre serveuse. Les chevalchers quittent vos arroués.
Oyez les commandements. Voisez, compagnons. Voisez. Faites-y mon demande. Attentis. À part
Compagnons, voyez-vous.
Oi. Si sur affect.
Bien vos oi.
Oyez les commandements. Second votre commandement.
Accepte hors votre service. Si comme vos voldrez.
Oyez bien, comme compagnon, nos allons.
Lancière, un ordre.
Envoyez, qui congroigne.
Or actendons ordonnance.
Donnez-moi vos sapins. Sommes en ordre. Redet en ordre.
Lianjan, oyez!
Les autres laissent comme bien joué, vos compagnons.
Illustrez Lianjan de siège à 6. Mangonels à 6.
Avertisez vostre courage, compagnons! Avant!
Lianjan de siège à 6. Mangonels à Jets, mettons envoyés. Mangonels à 6. Esbatet Stolz. Or actendons ordonnance. Oyez.
Soyez retrayez vos amoués.
Access mes vos, Sivé.
Or actendons ordonnance. Anjan vos à
Access vos compagnons.
The French army had repelled Charles of Navarre, stemmed the revolt, and held back the raids of the Routiers. In the struggle for control over France's lands, the king still clung to power. A war horse was no ordinary horse. In battle, it was a knight's comrade in arms. By nature, horses are prey animals, but the war horse had to become a predator. They had to be aggressive and fearless, to charge enemy lines and to trample anyone in their way. To achieve this, they were specially bred and highly trained to fight, to lash out with their hooves on command. This meant war horses were expensive and so conveyed high status.
War horses were incredibly strong and powerful, but they were also vulnerable. This is a really big target, and it's much easier to shoot a horse than it is to hit its rider. So just as men wore armor, horses wore armor too.
A knight didn't ride his war horse on the road to battle. It was far too valuable. Instead, they were led by the knight's groom. A knight would take multiple war horses on campaign, as he would need to change to a fresh horse several times during battle. Once geared up, the knight, his horse, and his weapons became a highly effective system.
The heavy cavalry lance had a small ring called a graper, and this locks into my arm, forming a hard linkage, so that the lance can't shoot backwards on impact.
The war saddle was also crucial. With its high back, it locked the rider to the horse.
This means with the graper and the saddle, horse, man, and weapon are all locked together to create one giant horse-powered projectile.
The main purpose of heavy cavalry was to charge straight into the enemy and smash through their lines. The impact charge crashed into an enemy with terrifying force. It required horses with exceptional courage and power.